Peace Ebereme. The death of Kevin Keegan has rocked the football world because one of the greatest players of all time. It was announced yesterday that he finally caved into cancer at the ripe old age of 75. He actually walked the talk. He bestrode the football world like a colossus, from Scunthorpe to Liverpool to Newcastle to Southampton to Newcastle via Southampton. Fantastic player, two-time Ballon d'Or winner, won it while plying his trade in Germany with Hamburg. Because not many English footballers have won the Ballon d'Or, and only Kevin Keegan has won it twice as an English player, and he won it in 1978 and 1979. Consecutive Ballon d'Or wins. Not many can also say they have done that as well. Of course, Kevin Keegan, of course, was a great player, captain of England, 21 goals in 63 appearances, captained England in 31 of those 63 appearances, also managed England between 1999 and 2000, and had to, of course, resign to keep his pride intact after losing to Germany at Wembley at 1-0 in a World Cup qualifier in 2000. Of course, that was 26 whole years ago. Of course, the death was expected, but no matter how much you expect death, it still hits you really hard, because in January it was announced that he had cancer, and 7 weeks ago it had deteriorated to stage 4, and he finally lost his life yesterday to cancer. Kevin Keegan was a fantastic player, had the aura, not only lived life, he seized it. He was a fantastic man off and on the pitch, won the European Cup at Liverpool. Of course, not under Bill Shankly, but Bob Paisley was an incredible player. The first man to popularize the number 7 shirt at Liverpool before it was inherited by Sir Kenny Dalglish. Because Kevin Keegan, 21 goals in 144 appearances for Scunthorpe before he signed for Liverpool at the age of 20, after amassing that lot in terms of appearances at Scunthorpe, was turned into an attacker from being a midfielder by the great Bill Shankly, and he won 3 First Division titles, 2 UEFA Cups, an FA Cup, and the European Cup at Liverpool before he went to Hamburg. And from Hamburg, he came back to England and signed for Southampton, and eventually he played for Newcastle in the twilight of his career. Great man, 40 goals in 113 appearances for Hamburg, 49 in 85 for Newcastle, 42 in 80 for the Saints of Southampton. Tributes have poured in, of course, for the great man. He was an incredible man. He also managed Newcastle. He has the distinction of being the first and only man to gain promotion as a champion for the 3 clubs that he managed: Newcastle, Fulham, and Manchester City. So he never gave up. He had that second place finish in the Premier League in 95-96 after the mind games by Sir Alex Ferguson really unsettled him. Of course, Sir Alex Ferguson, no stranger to mind games, probably the master of mind games. Then he was Alex Ferguson. All right, so we'll take some of the tributes from the football world, everywhere and everyone who had one thing to say, or 1 or 2 things to say about the very great Kevin Keegan, who died at the age of 75. So we'll take some tributes. He was a great man and definitely deserves this tribute from a lot of people, clubs, countries, and players alike, former players, former managers, former teammates of the great Kevin Keegan. So let's take some of the tributes like we said before. All right, one of the greatest English footballers of all time. Definitely the sport's most prestigious individual prize. He won it for 2 consecutive years. We said that before. Okay, so let's take some tributes. Liverpool said they are deeply saddened by the passing of the legendary Kevin Keegan, and they mourn his loss. His indomitable spirit and remarkable contribution will be forever etched in Liverpool's history, and his legacy will live on, definitely. Of course, King Kev, or the Mighty Mouse, was definitely a great player. That's for Liverpool. Okay. Newcastle also said they are devastated to learn of the passing of Kevin Keegan, one of the most iconic, influential, and deeply loved figures in the club's history. Kevin was more than a legendary footballer and manager. He was the beating heart of Newcastle United for generations of supporters. That's from Newcastle, one of the clubs he played for and also managed. All right, so as England, of course, he captained England 31 times in 63 appearances, scored 21 goals for the Three Lions. We are incredibly saddened by the news that Kevin Keegan, OBE, Order of the British Empire, has passed away. Yeah, let's not forget that he also managed England for 1 year. All right, Kevin earned 63 international caps and scored 21 goals between 1972 and 1982 before managing the Three Lions from 1999 to 2000. Our thoughts and condolences are with Kevin's family, friends, and former teammates, and what have you. So many tributes have poured in, but those are the three most important ones. So many ex-players also. Alan Shearer, of course, came in. Chris Kamara, Faustino Asprilla, some of the guys who played under him at Newcastle have also expressed their sincere sympathies and condolences. So rest in peace, Kevin Keegan. You lived a good, long, charming, exemplary, and legendary life. All right. So moving forward, we are going to be talking about the World Cup. Of course, the World Cup totally dominated headlines, and deservedly, because that's the biggest football tournament ever. The greatest showpiece event in the history of football and probably sport. People will argue that it is probably the biggest showpiece event in all of sports. It ended on Sunday, but not without some issues, some controversial issues, some indiscipline, some great level of indiscipline from the Argentine national team, especially the afters at the end of the match. Legendary defender Roberto Ayala was seen and caught on camera to have punched Dani Olmo after the match ended. So many issues. Leandro Paredes was the chief culprit, started the skirmishes and the hangers-on, and a lot of Argentine players and members of the coaching staff joined in. So there will be a retrospective ban and sanction for Argentina. Of course, that level of indiscipline cannot be tolerated in a beautiful game. And despite the fact that corruption has rocked FIFA, and they have been plagued with so many issues, especially the Folarin Balogun one, and so many, of course, the favoritism and preferential treatment for Argentina and Leo Messi, respectively. Let's not forget that Argentina, they collected the last 9 cards of the World Cup, 3 and 6 respectively, 3 red cards and 6 yellow cards. Of course, so many issues that have trailed Argentina's run to the final. Yeah, so many controversies. We remember the match against Egypt, we remember the Switzerland match, the Cape Verde match, so many issues. But right now, I think a lot of people said football won because Spain eventually won the tournament, and Rodri made the player of the tournament, Golden Ball, the first Golden Ball winner not to score or assist in a World Cup tournament. But he definitely deserved it on the basis of his play from the beginning to the end of the tournament. There are some World Cup stats that will also reel out very quickly. That's why the fact that we have time, but let's reel them out very quickly before we continue with other sporting developments. Right, so let's reel out some World Cup facts or stats very quickly. Stats from the foundation of football. A lot of people, numbers don't lie, so a lot of people are heavily interested in stats. So people like me as well, I like stats. So stats make up the beautiful game. I'm sure that we love the beautiful game more than anything else. So that's why we're still following Cristiano Ronaldo. We want him more than ever to hit that 1,000 goal. All right. So for the World Cup, no player at the 2026 World Cup created more chances from open play than Besiktas's Leandro Trossard. Of course, when he was at the World Cup, he was still he was still in the ranks of Arsenal. He was still on the Arsenal's payroll, but he has recently signed for Besiktas. And Leandro Trossard created more chances from open play than any other player at the World Cup. So let us give honor to whom honor is due. All right. So in the 141 minutes and 58 seconds of match time between Argentina's last shot against England in the semi-final and their first shot at the 2026 FIFA World Cup final, they conceded 25 fouls. Incredible. All right. Cape Verde's 0-0 draw with Spain last month makes them the first ever African nation to keep a clean sheet in a FIFA World Cup match against the eventual champions. So Cabo Verde, the Blue Sharks, actually made some enviable records, historical facts that will definitely outlive them. Of course, the players, I mean, probably not the country. All right. So most successful passes in a FIFA World Cup in the last 60 years, because I think stats became a thing from the 1966 World Cup. In 1930, a lot of things happened. Maybe we'll just remember the guy who won it twice with Uruguay, 1930, 1950, then with Italy as well. 1934, 1938, then Just Fontaine's goals, as well as Sandor Cox's in 54, 58. All right, 11 goals in a single tournament in 58th, I think. All right, so most successful passes in a single FIFA World Cup in the last 60 years. Rodri, 756 successful passes in 2026. Paul Kubasi, the 19-year-old young player of the World Cup, 671 in the same World Cup tournament, the just concluded FIFA World Cup tournament. Rodri again in 2022, 638. Emerick Laporte, 616 in this just concluded World Cup, and 596 for Javi Hernandez in 2010. So it's largely dominated. In fact, there's no player there other than Spanish player. Rodri twice, Paul Kubasi once, Emerick Laporte and Javi Hernandez. Interestingly, two defenders feature prominently in that statistic. All right, Rodri made 122 line-breaking passes at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Only Javi Alonso made more in the FIFA World Cup tournament, and that is the most by a player since 2010. Actually, Javi Alonso made 126 in the FIFA World Cup tournament in 2010, hosted by South Africa, which was won by Spain. We remember that extra time winner by Andres Iniesta after a fantastic pass, a well-timed pass by Cesc Fabregas in that World Cup final. So more stats for the World Cup. Kylian Mbappe had 23 shots on target at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the most by a player in a single edition since Eusebio had 29 in 1966. Persistent. All right. Rodri is the fourth different men's player to win each of the FIFA World Cup, UEFA European Championships, UEFA European Cup / Champions League, the Ballon d'Or. So Rodri is the fourth player in history to win these: the FIFA World Cup, the UEFA European Cup, which is now called the Champions League, and the UEFA European Championship, which we know as the Euros, of course, and the Ballon d'Or. After Gerd the Bomber Muller, the highest goal scorer in Bayern Munich's history, Franz Beckenbauer, one of only 3 human beings to win the World Cup as a player and as a manager, and one of only 2 to win it as a player, a captain, and a manager. All right, and Zinedine Zidane, a former Ballon d'Or winner and winner of the 1998 FIFA World Cup and 2006 finalist, could have won it if he did not allow a rush of blood get in his way after he had butted Marco the Matrix Materazzi, and that allowed Italy to win the 2006 World Cup under Don Marcello Lippi. All right, so that's for the 4 players who have won the FIFA World Cup, the UEFA European Championships, which we know as the Euros, the European Cup, which is now the Champions League, and the Ballon d'Or. Of course, Rodri is in a select group. I think he's the only player in football history that has won the FIFA World Cup, the UEFA European Championships, the UEFA Nations League, the English Premier League, the UEFA Champions League, and the Ballon d'Or, and the Golden Ball. And he's the first player from the Premier League to win the Golden Ball in its history. All right. So Spain allowed their opponents an XG of just 0.30 per game at the 2026 World Cup, the lowest of any side in a single edition on record in the last 60 years. So from 1966 up to this point. All right. So the final 2 days ago was the first time Leo Messi started a FIFA World Cup match without creating a single chance for any of his teammates. All right, so he was restricted. The last 9 cards shown at the 2026 FIFA World Cup were all awarded to Argentina players, 3 versus England and 6 versus Spain. So they were utterly aggressive, which was bordering on a toutish behavior. All right, so 19-year-old Kyle Kubasi led all players in the 2026 FIFA World Cup final for touches 139, successful passes 121, passing accuracy 96%, jaw-dropping, line-breaking passes 21, and 6 clearances. So at 19, such confidence. So he is definitely destined for great things. He has people in his sights, the likes of Sergio Ramos, Carlos Puyol, Carlos Machena, Fernando Hierro, great defenders, Gerard Piqué as well, great defenders who have been there for Spain, and Donny Goicoechea, the butcher of Bilbao. There are some very good Spanish defenders of old. So Spain are now unbeaten in their last 38 matches in all competitions, the longest ever by any European or South American team in history. So that's a record. Spain's Ferran Torres, we said that yesterday, was just the second substitute to score the winner in the FIFA World Cup final, following the footsteps of Grandeur in 2014. Same opponents, Argentina. All right, so this starts credited to Opta. We definitely have to reference people that we collect our stats from, because some of these stats are not just off the top of our heads, even though we try to get some off the top of our heads, but not everything, right? So we're not Einstein, even though we try to walk in his footsteps, but there are big shoes to fill. All right, so we'll now go straight to transfers. So many things there to inform you guys, developing stories. Let's not forget that Morgan Rogers completed his move to Chelsea yesterday. It was a very, very quick transfer after the medical. There was nothing else. There was nothing else preventing that transfer from going through, so it has been completed. We now know that Morgan Rogers is a Chelsea player after completing a £117 million switch from Aston Villa. We both know that no club would have been able to reject that amount for Morgan Rogers. And I'm sure that if Real Madrid come up with a €200 million bumper package for Michael Olise, Bayern Munich will not say no. So money makes the world go round. All right, so Real Madrid have reopened internal discussions over a potential move for Rodri. Yesterday, they said they had no intention. You see, these clubs, you can't really trust them, what they say, and apparently or seemingly how they feel. So you can't really trust them. They say one thing today and go and do another tomorrow. Marc Cucurella was having an interview 2 days before his move to Real Madrid and said he is not interested in leaving Chelsea. That was what he said. So we quoted him, and after 48 hours, it was announced that he had signed for Chelsea in the 55 million euro deal, for Real Madrid in the 55 million euro deal from Chelsea. All right, so Real Madrid have opened internal discussions over a potential move for Rodri following a standout World Cup campaign. Several figures within the club are now pushing for a deal. Rodri is keen on the return to Spain and still dreams of playing for Real Madrid, despite Florentino Perez ruling out the signing before the tournament. Mind games. The king of mind games is Florentino Perez. He says one thing and does another. So treat whatever he says with a pinch of salt. Take it with a pinch of salt. All right. Zinedine Zidane is set to be unveiled as France's new head coach in the coming days. A full agreement has now been reached with the French Football Federation, FFF, after the two parties agreed a deal. They first reached a verbal agreement back in March. So they have finally put pen to paper and agreed on all the clauses, whatever it is. So Zinedine Zidane, like we have been saying since, is the next coach of the French national team. All right. Barcelona president Juan Laporta has announced that Karim Adeyemi will be confirmed at a new as a new signing tomorrow. All right. So Karim Adeyemi will be confirmed by Barcelona. We already know that he's a Barcelona player. So Juan Laporta is saying the official confirmation will be tomorrow. All right. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so done deal. Queen's Park Rangers have signed Tariq Lamptey on a free transfer after he left Fiorentina. Remember Tariq Lamptey? He used to ply his trade in England, Brighton. Fiorentina terminated his Serie A contract earlier in May due to a long-term ACL injury. So they kicked him while he was down. You do not, for me, I do not think you should abandon a player at his lowest. An anterior cruciate ligament injury is not self-inflicted. I am sure he got that injury while trying to defend the colors of the Viola. So it is actually a question mark there why they terminated his contract. Still a young man, still got a lot to offer. So now Queen's Park Rangers, they have reignited that faith, and I am sure that it has given him extra motivation to come back from that ACL and do very, very well at QPR. All right, Manchester United have made Roma midfielder Manu Kone a top target this summer. Only this Manu Kone transfer is making the headlines. Manchester United actually flew under the radar, got 3 signings done as quickly as possible in 78 hours. I am sure that's a record. Even Sir Alex Ferguson couldn't manage that. Had a media frenzy all over signings or potential signings. All right, so initial talks have started while Kone would welcome a move to Manchester United and wants to play in England. Arsenal and 2 unnamed Premier League clubs are also interested in the 25-year-old. I am sure Manchester United will definitely like their chances if it is Arsenal and 2 other unnamed Premier League clubs that are interested, except Arsenal does the Tottenham and signs him for an outrageous amount, just like Tottenham did with Matheus Fernandes and Sandro Tonali, to ward off any competition whatsoever. So money speaks, and every other thing submits to its superiority. All right, AC Milan have joined the race to sign Manchester City star Phil Foden. I'm sure he's unsettled that Manchester City didn't feature prominently last season. He will definitely want a new challenge and welcome it with open arms. Barcelona are also interested in the England international as uncertainty continues over his future. All right, Foden came through City's academy and has a contract with the Premier League club until next year. So I'm sure there's every chance that Foden might jump ship. It is not unheard of. All right, deal done. Sheffield United have signed former Wolves defender Matt Doherty on a 1-year deal. So Matt Doherty has left the Molineux to Sheffield. All right, so deal done. Porto have signed Hyun In-beom from Feyenoord, 4.5 million euros plus 500,000 euros in add-ons. Very affordable contract until 2029. All right, so Ferran Torres is expected to leave Barcelona Paris Saint-Germain and Aston Villa both pursuing a deal. PSG have offered 25 million euros plus 10 million in add-ons, while Aston Villa could offer as much as 50 million. So we all know that he may end up at Aston Villa, because Aston Villa 50 million, PSG 25 million euros. The only thing that might put Ferran Torres back in PSG's radar and put them as favorites is if Ferran Torres personally wants to go to PSG and of course let it make it very clear to Juan Laporta and the Barcelona hierarchy. All right, so Villa have revived their interest as they look to replace Morgan Rogers following his move to Chelsea, and they have a lot of money to spend, 117 million pounds. We know that doesn't come once, but of course we know also that they can also give assurances, just like they have been assured by Chelsea they'll be paid in installments. That's how transfers go. So when you hear 500 million euros, that like Neymar's 222 million euros transfer to PSG, it wasn't paid once to Barcelona. Nobody does that. Even 10 million euros, it is done in installments. So there's no outright payment. The football world doesn't work like that. You don't have that amount to throw around. You make plans, right? So it can, all these monies can get to the receiving club in 2 or 3 years, as the case may be. Depends on the structure of the agreement. All right, so that's for Ferran Torres. Of course, let's not forget that he has put his name back in reckoning after scoring that extra time winner for Spain against Argentina, which led to Spain triumphing at the World Cup. Erling Haaland has asked his agents to put all transfer talks on hold as he plans to stay at Manchester City. The Norwegian striker does not want to pursue a move this summer and remains under contract until 2034. However, Haaland views 2027 as a key point to reassess his future, with Real Madrid remaining a possible destination. I wonder how that is going to work. Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland. We know that Mbappe can definitely function as a wing forward, but will he? He's already having it tough with that star status. There's currently a tussle for that star treatment with Vinicius Junior and probably Jude Bellingham. So welcoming another star, is it going to affect his confidence levels? Let us see how that goes, because every club in the world, every top tier club in the world will definitely welcome the addition of Erling Haaland. Definitely one of the top 4 strikers in the world, top 3, top 4. Kylian Mbappe, Harry Kane, Erling Haaland. Anybody else? All right, so I think that is the case at the moment. Alex Scott has rejected Bournemouth's latest contract offer, with his future at the club increasingly uncertain. Manchester United, Arsenal and Chelsea all remain strongly interested in the midfielder as the race for his signature continues to gather pace and momentum. All right, Manchester United are showing interest in signing Nottingham Forest fullback Neco Williams, and that news started yesterday and is fast developing. The rival interest from both Premier League clubs made a potential deal more complicated for Manchester United. So Manchester United have to slug it out with Tottenham and Newcastle United, who recently lost Kevin Keegan for the signature of Neco Williams. All right, so let's see how that goes. FIFA have confirmed that no disciplinary action was taken against Leandro Paredes after the World Cup final. Paredes was initially reported as having been sent off by referee Zlatko Vincic for appearing to push Gavi by the throat. However, the red card was removed from the official record shortly afterwards, with FIFA confirming to BBC Sport that no sanction was ultimately issued. So the 2 red cards were announcing since, nothing like that. It was just 1 red card, Enzo Fernandez. So FIFA have confirmed. So it isn't really our fault if they just confirmed it to the major sporting outlets. All right. So Chelsea have added John Stones to their shortlist of centre backs ahead of the summer transfer window. The 32-year-old is definitely hot on the transfer market, or in the transfer market, because he is a free agent. Arsenal very interested after that Saliba injury Chelsea also interested. Let's see between the two Spanish former midfielders, Mikel Arteta and Xabi Alonso, who is going to convince John Stones about or of his next destination. The Blues are accessing defender reinforcements with the England international now among the options under consideration as they weigh up a free transfer for the former Manchester City player. It's the season of transfer news, so let us get used to it. All right, Vinicius Jr. underwent a chin augmentation surgery in Brazil yesterday. So Vinicius Jr. underwent a chin augmentation surgery in Brazil yesterday. I'm not sure to keep him out for too long. All these reconstruction surgeries. All right, so Rodri is pushing for a move to Real Madrid, which has been said earlier, and yeah, Jules Koundé has no plans to leave Barcelona despite the club being open to a major summer sale. Bayern Munich are interested, while Barcelona would only consider offers approaching 70 million euros for the defender. Koundé has made his preference clear and intends to remain at Barcelona for the upcoming season, but it is not completely in his hands. If Barcelona have to sell to buy and he is the only option available, I am sure they will push they will let him go, obviously. So Ipswich Town have reached an agreement with Fulham to sign centre back Issa Diop. Let's not forget that Issa Diop was that Moroccan defender who took matters in his own hands, equalizing for the Atlas Lions against the Netherlands, which took that match to extra time and eventually penalties, and Morocco triumphed over Netherlands in that match, which effectively ensured their qualification to the round of 16, where they battered Canada 3-0. All right, so Fulham are set to receive around 10 million euros, with Diop having 1 year left on his contract. All right, so the 29-year-old has signed a 4-year contract and is expected to undergo a medical soon. So that's for Ipswich Town. Let's not forget that they are back in the Premier League. Lisandro Martinez and Enzo Fernandez could have UK visas revoked. All right, so that's a developing story, and it is still at best a speculation. Maybe because of their actions. Let's see if this is the aftermath of it. The consequences, definitely actions have consequences. So let's see how that goes. All right, so Aston Villa and Newcastle are showing interest in Real Betis winger Ezelu. We know that guy, very good guy. Ezelu ahead of a potential summer move. Real Betis currently wants his 60 million release clause paid in full before agreeing to sell the 24-year-old Ezeli. So, all right, Ezeli. All right, so Villa could target Ezeli after Morgan Rogers' 117 million move to Chelsea. So they are interested in Ezeli, they're interested in Ferran Torres. If they can buy both, who knows, including Hots or how many one else, if they can get both to Villa Park. So Manchester United have made inquiries over the availability of Senegal forward Ismaila Sarr. Did very well at the World Cup and has definitely played quite well at Crystal Palace as well. The Crystal Palace winger has been a lifelong United supporter and has previously admitted that playing for the club will be a dream. All these players, they have dreams. They all have dreams. Yeah. All right. So more transfer news. Alvaro Arbeloa wants 2 Real Madrid forwards at Fulham. We said that yesterday. Gonzalo Garcia and Mastantuono, who came from River Plate a season ago. Combal president Alejandro Dominguez has announced that the 2030 World Cup will feature 64 teams instead of 48. The tournament is set to begin with centenary matches in Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay before the remainder is staged across Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. So it is the FIFA centenary tournament, 100 years since, of course, the FIFA World Cup was first staged in 1930, and we remember the first winners as Uruguay. All right, so that's why centenary matches will hold in Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay. We remember Paraguay, of course. Let's not forget Jose Luis Chilavert and Roque Santa Cruz, who played at Blackburn at some point in his storied career. All right, so Real Madrid have ruled out any potential move for Enzo Fernandez this summer. Yeah, of course, when you're interested in Rodri, Enzo Fernandez is definitely a downgrade on Rodri. And with all due respect, I'm sure Chelsea fans may not agree with me, but truth is incontrovertible. Bring your stats and I bring mine. Let's see how Enzo Fernandez is better than Rodri. He can't lace his boots, and that's not just my opinion, it's the opinion of pretty much everyone, right? So as a reminder, the Argentine midfielder got sent off in the World Cup final and cost his country the game. I do not think he cost his country any game. I think Spain could have won that match whether he was sent off or not, because it was all Spain from the first minute to the last. Yeah. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has announced his decision to quit as a pundit. Well, he was quite biased as a pundit. Great player, but not a very good pundit. That's my opinion, really. I'm sure a lot of people share that as well. Arsenal are weighing up a move for John Stones. I said that yesterday. And Italy have made Pep Guardiola one of their top managerial targets. I'm sure it's their topmost managerial target. This is just news, with Paolo Maldini and Leonardo holding talks to present him with the opportunity of taking charge of the Azzurri. That's a juicy, well, it's an attractive proposition, really. Guardiola has now been formally sounded out over the possibility of becoming Italy's next national team manager. I'm sure Italy will welcome him with open arms. He's one of the greatest managers in the history of the game. So let us see how that will develop. All right. So Mark Van Bommel, one of my favorite midfielders of all time, I dare say, has emerged as one of the leading contenders to become the manager of the Red Devils of Belgium. All right. So the former Netherlands international is among the top candidates being considered as a potential successor to Rudy Garcia, who has left his role after getting to the World Cup final. I wonder why they leave their roles, right? You weren't expected to win the World Cup. If Belgium had won the World Cup, it would have been one of the wonders of the world. So why you got to you had a respectable tournament, a respectable showing. The World Cup quarterfinal is creditable, and Carlo Ancelotti could only reach the round of 16 before he was booted out by Norway. So what are we talking about? So it's a no-brainer, really. But yeah, some of these guys, they think they are better than they actually are. Rudy Garcia getting to the World Cup quarterfinals with Belgium is creditable and commendable. Barcelona are monitoring Manchester City star Phil Foden as a potential signing. So Foden, Anthony Gordon, Phil Foden, let's not forget, was dropped by Thomas Tuchel in his World Cup squad 2 or 3 seasons ago. That would never have been the case. Phil Foden and Cole Palmer not going to the World Cup was definitely a huge surprise, but Thomas Tuchel doesn't really care about what you have done. It is what you are doing. So the reality was that Foden and Cole Palmer probably didn't merit a place in the merit their place in the England World Cup squad, and deservedly they didn't go. And Thomas Tuchel actually picked players based on their impressive performances over the course of the season. Well, but there will definitely be question marks over the inclusion of Jordan Henderson, not knowing why he was there. Ivan Toney, of course, we know why he was there. He was highest goal scorer, well, second highest goal scorer in the Saudi Pro League. But what of Jordan Henderson? And well, we can also finger a few others. Trevor Chalobah, he came in for Team Livramento, who couldn't make it to the World Cup, was at the World Cup before he sustained an injury, and he had to be replaced by Trevor Chalobah. So that's a replacement. Kobe Mainoo didn't feature at all. In the third place match, he was reported to be injured, but I'm sure that's not the case. I'm sure when he gets back to Manchester United, he will feature prominently in the few preseason games, warm-up games before the season commences proper. So while we wait for the Premier League, the Bundesliga, the Spanish La Liga, the French League, and other major leagues to commence, we have some transfer news which we have been reading out, and there will definitely be more. We know that Barcelona are interested in Phil Foden. Barcelona have signed Karim Adeyemi. Manchester United signed Tylen Thompson from Tottenham Hotspur after some personal issues with his family in London. Didn't want to stay in London anymore, so has moved with his family to Manchester, and Manchester United definitely recipients of, well, the bad news for Tottenham became good news for Manchester United. Impressive winger. He'll definitely go into the first team, just like the Eden Heaven deal. Hopefully, Chido Obi Martins will do well at Manchester United for the first team this season. Let's hope that he will be promoted, and his promotion will not be temporary because he's got the talent. And in the striker department, we'll just have Benjamin Sesko and Joshua Zirkzee might leave Manchester United this season. So that club will definitely be looking to get in some recruitments and replacements for the departing players. For now, Joshua Zirkzee is still a Manchester United player, but I do not think that will be for long. But let's see what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and others think about Joshua Zirkzee's future at Manchester United. So for tennis, let's not forget that tennis players are preparing for the hardcourt swing. We talked about guys like Novak, of course, usual contenders, Alex Zverev, Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz will be back at Cincinnati. So a lot of people have definitely been put on notice. He will maybe be match rusty because he's coming from a long-term wrist injury layoff. But Carlos Alcaraz is always Carlos Alcaraz. I'm sure his inclusion in the Cincinnati draw will definitely lead to more match goers buying tickets. More tickets to definitely experience an upsurge in sale because Alcaraz is a marquee name in tennis. For Venus and Serena Williams, they have definitely signaled their intention, of course, penciled in their appearances at the US hardcourt swing to start in DC, where Venus Williams will partner Alexander Ayala, the Filipino, in the doubles draw. So that's a lineup that we're definitely looking out for. Let's watch out for where they can actually get to. Can they get to the quarterfinals or the semifinals at worst? Or can they eventually leave the trophy? Venus at 46 is not slowing down. Incredible player, incredible woman, 7-time Grand Slam women's champion, has won multiple Olympic gold medals, has won it all, double specialist as well, alongside her sister Serena Williams. So let us see how that will eventually pan out for the Williams sisters. They are eager to do well in the US hardcore swing. The US is their place of bet. It is where they know very well. And I'm sure at Flushing Meadows, which is the US Open, one of the Grand Slam tournaments and the last of every year, they'll definitely want to do well. Of course, this spotlight will definitely be on the likes of Elena Rybakina, those who want to take away Arina Sabalenka's #1 ranking, the likes of Coco Gauff. Iga Swiatek could definitely want to resurge, and there will definitely be other players like Caroline Muchova, the recent Wimbledon champion Linda Noskova, recent Roland Garros champion Mira Andreeva, the woman who won the 2025 Australian Open, Madison Keys. There will be Sloane Stephens. There will be a lot of players, people like Elena Svitolina, of course, Jessica Pegula, Emma Navarro will be looking to do very well during the US hardcore swing. So many players just live for just a few titles. That's how tennis is. As for the men, we've talked about Yannick Sinner, Alexander Zverev, Novak Djokovic, and a host of others. Too numerous to mention. Lorenzo Musetti will definitely want to come back. Matteo Berrettini. So many guys who definitely want to stake a claim. Flavio Cobolli, who recently reached the final of Roland Garros and the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, where he fell to Arthur Frey. did very well as a wild card for Britain. Eventually, he lost to Alexander Zverev in the Wimbledon semi-finals, and Alexander Zverev led the Wimbledon final by 1 set until Yannick Sinner came back from a set down to win that and hoist his second straight Wimbledon and 5th Grand Slam title overall. So it's hotting up for tennis, and it's hotting up quite well, quite nicely, setting up quite nicely. Novak is still looking for that elusive 25th Grand Slam, has reached the semi-final of Wimbledon. Of course, he was defeated by Yannick Sinner. Yannick avenged the semi-final loss to Novak in the Australian Open tournament, and Novak couldn't get to the knockout stages. The prime stages of Roland Garros was booted out in the 3rd round by João Fonseca, who actually got to the quarterfinals. So we're looking at very good tennis players who will be looking to stake a claim for the titles on offer at Cincinnati in Canada, and also the French Open. So many points to defend for Yannick Sinner, for Arina Sabalenka, whose #1 position is being threatened by Elena Rybakina, who hasn't done really well. Barbara Krejcikova will be leading the Czech contingent of Linda Noskova, Caroline Muchova, Maria Buskova as well. So that Czech quartet will be looking to do well in the US hardcore swing as well. I'm sure that will definitely stay glued as events unfold. So that's for tennis. Concluding the sports grandeur with some few developments from the World Cup, who have said that Rodri will be very interested in joining Real Madrid because he wants to return to Spain. I'm sure that also has the Pep Guardiola factor. Pep not being at Manchester City will definitely weigh heavily on the minds of some of the players he brought in and some of the players he positively affected and influenced in the right direction. So some of these players definitely don't want to play at Manchester City anymore. They have their heads and hearts set elsewhere. So Rodri wants to go back to to Spain and play for Real Madrid. Rodri used to play at Atletico Madrid and was purchased for 70 million euros all those years ago by Pep Guardiola, who had so much faith in him, and his faith was definitely rewarded. Rodri won all the titles on offer. According to the Premier League, he has completed football. Definitely, he won the Golden Ball and won the World Cup with La Roja. All right, so Luis de la Fuentes confirmed as the oldest coach to win the World Cup in its stellar history. Since 1930, no 65-year-old has won the World Cup. So Luis de la Fuentes is the oldest manager to win the World Cup. His journey did not just start today. In 2015, he won the Under-19 tournament. In 2019, he won the Under-21 tournament, and he will reach the final of the Summer Olympics in 2021, and also won the Nations League and the Euros over the last 3 years. Got to the final of the Nations League last year until except that he lost to Portugal and Cristiano Ronaldo. Avenged that loss in the round of 16. That match, avenged that loss at the World Cup, because Portugal met Spain, and that was the end of the Portuguese journey at the FIFA 2026 World Cup. So Luis de la Fuentes is the oldest manager to win the World Cup for Spain. So that brings us to the end of today's edition of Sports Grandeur on OJ 106.3 FM Benin. My name remains Ohis Boreme. For inquiries, you know all social media platforms on Facebook on OJ 106.3 FM, X, TikTok, YouTube, and you can also talk to us. We come to our offices physically for sponsorships and what have you. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day till we meet again next tomorrow. Cheers and have fun.